years in prison for crimes they did not commit. But some of those former Ohio inmates have nothing to show for it, not even compensation from the state. At issue, interpretation of a state law that some critics are calling stingy. And now Jennifer All tells us what in the world is going on with this.
Well, Danita, the law was passed in 2003 to help exonerees get back on their feet. But the way the Ohio Supreme Court interprets it, some are walking away empty-handed. Now, earlier this week, I visited Cincinnati to meet with state lawmakers and lawyers who are working to change all that.
It's really regrettable what the Supreme Court has done.
Because of how the Ohio Supreme Court interpreted the current law, only certain exonerees can collect money after being wrongfully imprisoned.
Misinterpreted it, in my humble opinion.
They're eligible only if there were errors with DNA evidence or constitutional procedural errors were made after sentencing, but not during the investigation or trial.
Of having that very narrow, crabbed reading of the statute.
Representative Bill Seitz sponsored the state budget bill back in 2003. He hoped it would ensure people who were imprisoned for crimes they didn't commit were compensated for mistakes in the justice system.
How would you feel if that was you? I'll tell you one thing. There's no amount of money that would be sufficient to compensate me.
Mark Godsey with the Ohio Innocence Project worked with Representative Seitz to create that bill. He tells me the Supreme Court's ruling hurt some exonerees who spent decades in prison instead of building a career and family, like the East Cleveland Three.
Like the East Cleveland Three, where they were convicted on really problematic junk science, frankly.
Eugene Johnson, Derek Wheat, and Laurice Glover found guilty of murdering Clifton Hudson back in 1995.
There was police misconduct, new witnesses coming forward.
Their conviction overturned in 2015.
We stuck together and, we always believed in our innocence.
And they were released in 2016.
I knew this day was going to come, but I just didn't know when.
The procedural error in their case was what's called a Brady violation. That's when the police fail to turn over exculpatory evidence that suggests innocence.
Because they don't meet the Supreme Court's guidelines, they do not get any compensation for 20 years spent in prison. Representative Seitz wants to change that and bring clarity to the law.
There is no error in procedure that could reasonably be expected to result in your acquittal.
House Bill 49 passed the State House and is now being considered by the State Senate.
I feel pretty good about it.
So far, we have not found anyone speaking out against House Bill 49. If it passes, about half a dozen former inmates could collect money from Ohio. As for why this compensation is so important, exonerees are supposed to get at least $52,000 for every year they were wrongfully imprisoned. In the Tech Center, I'm Jennifer Ah, reporting for The Now Cleveland.